Hey folks, I'm Jack Fossett, and welcome to this demo and review of the One Control Honeybee Overdrive. Now this is a BJFE design pedal, and this is one of Bjorn's probably more notable overdrive pedals. It's been around for nearly 2 decades now from Bjorn himself and various manufacturers, and he has specifically stated that this is kind of the state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, best one that has come out. It has the most revisions and is really the best of the Honeybee existence, the best of the Honeybee Overdrive world. Now, it started simply as I don't want to say simply, but it started as an overdrive pedal that was just really inspired by a Supro amp. And if you know Bjorn's designs, specifically the ones with one control, in my experience, they are very much so. The term, and I've said this in my other one control demos, so forgive me for those of you who have watched those and have heard me say this, but the term amp-like is thrown around a lot in the pedal world these days, and Bjorn's designs are the ones that to me sound actually amp-like. There are a lot of overdrive pedals. Well, the concept of an overdrive pedal in general, right? You know, like the people even talk about that with tube screamers and stuff, and they say, you know, like, oh, well, a tube screamer is supposed to emulate a pushed amplifier, and you kind of go, well, now I like tube screamers. This is not a criticism of them, it's a criticism of the description of them, because if you've ever really turned up an amp, it doesn't sound like it has a tube screamer in front of it. It's a very different sound. There are frequency differences, there are response differences, there tends to be a little bit of a harder clipping edge to them. Some even almost sound more like a fuzz when you really get them roaring. And Bjorn tends to have a good ear for that, for what an amp-like pedal should actually sound like. This actually will make your amp sound like it's breaking up and kind of give it that little bit of Supro character. Now, the modern one has kind of a wider range on the nature control, more drive, a little bit more of upper mid-range than earlier versions. The vintage and modern, you know, a lot of people generally, if you look at a vintage and modern, you might think the vintage might be a little bit squishier, a little saggier. The modern might be a little tighter with a clear EQ response. This is a little different. Like any overdrive pedal, it works great as more of a clean boost if you want it to, but I think this works very much as, especially as a foundation overdrive that you can stack with other pedals. This is probably one of the best edge of grit pedals that I think that I've played, because it is so amp-like. It just sounds like your amp is kind of being shoved a little bit. You can really sink into the notes, and it has that sag to it, so you can back off and get it more dynamic, or you can sink in and get it more gritty and get a realistic amp like tone at a lower volume that then you could stack another pedal with to kind of give you a richer lead sound if you want. Now, as with other one control pedals, really flashy kind of modern design. It looks great. They're incredibly sturdy. I've been using one control pedals for years and I've never had a problem with them. They really just work. For this demo, I'm plugging the Honeybee into my Franklyn Amps 5E3. That's going into a 210 cabinet. And I'm actually structuring this a little bit differently. I played the demo part entirely with a PRS CE 24 semi-hollow. Now, usually I'll do one part with humbuckers and one part with single coils. Been really enjoying playing PRS guitars lately, and so I decided to kind of do it all at once and use the coil tapping because it has very realistic coil tapping, and also to kind of do it all combined so that you could sort of hear it back and forth with the single coil mode, with the modern and vintage switch, and just really hear how many different sounds you can get out of this pedal, and how many it can really be, again, like a foundation tool that really just works. Now, again, it'll do the other things well too. If you want to stack it with another overdrive or put this into a pushed amp and use it more like a traditional overdrive, it'll do that too. If you want to use it as a clean boost, it'll do that too. But it's really just an exceptional, realistic sounding, rich sounding overdrive pedal. So let us know in the comments, have you played the Honeybee Overdrive? Have you played this model from One Control or a previous iteration? What do you think? I definitely am impressed with this pedal, and I've played the other B pedals as well, both from other companies and from One Control. The Silver Bee is a pedal that I absolutely love. Let us know what you think of this in the comments. This is usually where I say stay tuned for more tones, but I did it all at the beginning. There's no more tones. This is the end of the video.